Welcome to Happily Ever Aftermath.
The podcast where we discuss relationships in movies and our relationships with them.
I'm Polina and Diana.
And I'm Diana Rojek-Skonard.
Hi, Diana.
Polina, you're alive.
I am alive. Despite all evidence to the contrary, I made it out of that crypt.
Crypt, you say?
Yes.
That's not what Meg told me.
Can't trust a single word that girl says.
I'm innocent.
That's what they all say.
She makes a great martini, so I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was all forgotten. She gave me a martini and then gave me like some nice jewelry, and I was happy because I'm easily made happy.
It was someone else pretending to be me.
Okay, then. I believe you. All right.
But yes,
Well, we're all back. That's the best part.
exactly. We're all back together.
Yay.
Hooray.
However we got here. Not
Yes.
important right now.
Well, we got here because we're talking about Jude-Ly.
Yes.
We're continuing the wonder that is Jude-Ly.
We are.
The most wonderful time of the year.
And this time around, we're going to be talking about Music from Another Room. It's 1998. And from this Google search, the results that I am just reading right now, as a young boy, Danny, hey, Jude Law.
Jude Law.
Danny
Surprise.
helped deliver his neighbor's infant daughter, Anna Swan. Despite his various relationships, Danny's always felt he was destined to marry Anna. False. Sorry. Already with the commentary. 25 years later, Danny returns to his home and runs into a full-grown Anna. I have to say Anna. My niece is Anna. I have to undo that. So she is Anna.
Wait, what do you mean?
She is Anna, right?
I think it's Anna.
I think it's...
She.
What?
Oh, we're already disagreeing. Fantastic.
Is it Anna or Anna? I'm going to trust you.
I thought it was Anna.
I think it's Anna.
I think it is Anna. It is Anna.
No, it is Anna. I have to not say Anna.
Yes. Oh, okay. You have to fix yourself. I'm like, Anna is a perfectly acceptable.
Don't tell my niece that.
Really? It's
No,
great.
that's her name.
Yeah.
Okay, the only problem is that she is already engaged to Eric, Jon Tenney. Not one to give up on fate, Danny insinuates himself into Anna's family life, which forces him to contend with some rather eccentric characters. Okay, let's fight.
Oh my God. I have so much to say. This movie is bonkers, and I can't wait to talk about how the many ways in which this movie is bonkers. Meg is nodding.
It truly is.
I brought this movie into our lives, and I'm also nodding.
I like you. You're like, I have no shame. You're welcome. You're welcome, both of you.
Well, no, I have shame. I have so much shame right now.
Okay, it's okay. We're here to help you through it.
I don't.
Why did you do this to us?
Shame. Shame.
Oh wait,
Also
I'm
shame.
not good at this.
This is not a safe place for me right now. Okay, so if this was 1998, the year was 1998.
Yes.
What I remember more than this movie, and that was what was interesting, as I got through this movie, everything was just like, I don't remember this. I don't remember this. Oh, hey, I don't remember this. I remember the Savage Garden song.
Oh, yes.
Oh.
I remember, I'm gonna marry her. I remember the really, really weird making out scene where they're kind of spinning around her, where that particular spinning was better done in The Matrix when Neo's doing the whole bullet dodging thing. And I actually didn't remember how the movie ended. In the middle. I remember her.
Take a guess.
I remember her aggressively attacking her fiance because she was just like, I'm not full of passion. Now do me now. I'm like, I don't like that I remember that either.
What do you remember it as? Like, what was your memory of it?
I remember the trailer.
No, but I mean, what was your memory of that scene?
The trailer. Which scene?
Of the scene where she's
extra aggressive?
like, I'm not passionate, so you have to be passionate right now.
I remember fast forwarding through it a lot.
Okay.
I thought you said before that you were just joking about dialing up the prudish angle, but you really just fast forward through the...
Yeah.
Okay.
No. I mean, I think it's maybe a little bit. But like, yes, she really did.
Ryan will tell you that my prudishness is dialed up to 11 for the podcast. I am very prudish, but he's also the person I'm the most comfortable with. So when he hears me being extra prudish, I'm just like, you don't know me. I'm very uncomfortable.
I'm sorry.
Well, I guess because I was what I was wondering.
No, man, you know.
Where I was getting to with that question is my assumption is you're saying I remember those things, which meant that it made an impression on you then. And what I was wondering is was it one of those like, oh, that seems like a really good idea when you're 19, or you're like, oh, he disappointed her? Whereas when you watch it when you're older, you're like, yeah, making someone be like passionate on cue is just not a workable thing ever.
Well, also he was working.
Exactly.
Yes.
That's a thing.
That's kind of rude.
Yeah.
That could have been certain stacks. That could have taken him a while.
Yeah, totally. Like, I would have a hard time like getting out of Codehead to be like, I mean, it would have to be more than a demand, I guess. And that's what I was wondering is like, because I kept thinking about that is I'm watching this movie as like an adult, and
that which was romantic.
Yes.
When we were younger.
I was kind of trying to put myself in that mode of
I was ashamed I was ashamed of the mode because I'm just like, why is this dripping worse? I had a hard time falling asleep last night because I was just kind of angry when the credits rolled.
Really?
I was angry when the credits started rolling because I'm just like, okay, 16 Candles is terrible in the following reasons. This movie is not as iconic, and I'm upset in many of the same reasons. Mm-hmm. Because there were various cultural stereotypes based off of just like, hey,
yes,
here we are.
Yes.
What kind of club was that? Let's talk.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. There was definitely like a lot of that casual, like, and it was 1998. I was kind of like, you know, I mean, it was a dark time. It was a stock market crash. You know, like there was
a like, mariachi band.
I mean, you know, I love a mariachi band.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah. I just gave $1 to a mariachi band like just 24 hours ago.
This is a fascinating insight into your evening.
It was a daytime. We're at a taqueria.
My husband used to be in a mariachi band.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah, really.
That just sounds really cool.
That's really cool.
He played the trumpet.
Oh my God, that's so weird. I have a fan. My really close friend and I have this. My husband also plays the trumpet, and we have this whole fantasy of like when she and I are out, that Sean is in this like roving in this. Is the only white guy in a mariachi band that is like roving the mission, but he's wearing like the full-on out, you know, the really good ones where they're wearing like black and silver, you know, the black pants with the silver things on the like I don't even know what they're called up the sides, but he's wearing the full outfit, and they're like really tight, really good mariachi band. So he actually played in a mariachi band.
Yeah, and my husband was also the only white guy in the mariachi band.
Oh my God, this is fantastic.
I gotta go make Ryan step up his mariachi game then.
Sadly, this was before we had met, so I did not get to experience it, and there are no surviving photos.
No, that was my next question.
I know. It's a great disappointment to
that
me
would
to
be
this
actually
day.
a great disappointment for me.
Yeah. You know what? I had a question just to lay the groundwork a little bit for this movie. So Diana, you were saying that you saw it when it came out. Is that correct?
I would say that I saw it after it made it to VHS.
Okay.
I think it was direct to video. I had to look that up.
Really?
Yes, that's also what I read.
Was it really?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I'm fascinated by that.
Mm-hmm. I am too.
Boy, does it show, huh? Mm-hmm. So you probably saw it around 1998. And so it sounds like that's the only time you saw it, but it left a good impression on you enough to this day that you wanted to rewatch it for the podcast. Is that accurate?
What I remember is I did watch this more than once.
Okay.
What's interesting is that this movie is so generic in certain aspects is that it just all went away.
Yes. Okay.
And very few things like that happens with books, but I watched it enough to where certain scenes did stick in my head.
The ones that you would rewatch.
The ones that I would fast forward through still there.
Yep.
But a lot of it went away because there's so many formulaic pieces.
Yes.
And I actually wanted to I was crossing my fingers that there was a TV tropes page about this to do the work for me. But it's just like this generic bland guy over here, he's not for you, he's for me. I'm like, no, he's a perfectly nice guy. So perfectly nice guy trope.
Yep.
Yeah, and he never does any, like, he's not even, and so we're talking about this where a lot of movies, how we realize that, like, the podiatrist, the guy is either a podiatrist, an accountant, or a dentist. And that's like a sign, and they wear glasses. And that's like the sign that it's like the boring guy who's not exciting enough and is like, is dull. This guy, like, seems like he has his own business or something. Like I'm wondering, it was like, is that a finance, like
comfortable.
Yeah, like, but is also extremely pleasant.
Yeah.
It's like
Yes.
never does anything, dresses well, like not my type, but like there's nothing to like you never see anything of him that to be offended, but there isn't even any scenes where you're like, well, like, okay, I see what they're trying to do to make this guy like
He's no Jeremy Piven in this movie.
he's no Jeremy
That's true.
Piven.
Yeah, I feel like with the boring, bland, nice guy, I feel like the resolution for that character either goes one of two ways. It's that it turns out he was secretly a bad guy all along, and he gets exposed for being not a nice guy, and then the girl is totally justified in leaving him. Or he's such a go with the flow, blandly nice guy that he just sort of accepts everything that's going on,
Which I guess
even
this
the
guy
love
is
of the other couple.
probably- yeah.
I think he falls into that category of like, okay.
Like he doesn't care enough.
He does not care enough. Yep.
Right. And also there is this scene where Danny, Jude Law's character, comes in and she's like, just so you know, I am in love with your fiance. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
He's like, okay. And she tells her fiance that she has slept with Danny, and this happens off screen, but apparently his reaction was I'm
like,
over it.
yeah, we'll get through it. But like the reaction isn't like, well, it's been a week and we've decided it was like, like it was a last, one-time fling and here we are. It was like 4 hours later. But actually, I feel like that happened. This movie to me had like, it made no emotional sense whatsoever.
No, because after that, she's just like, we're going to elope to Paris. Uh-huh.
Maybe this is too early to do this because I still actually really, really want to explore the like Diana.
We really ran through this movie.
Oh yeah, no, we're just. But at the end, spoiler alert: the mom dies, who is played by the fabulous Brenda Blethyn.
She brings something to this role, but this role is not great for her.
No.
This role is. I mean, none of these roles are good for any of these people, and they are made like. Was it okay? I have a theory about this movie now. It just came out with it. It just came up with it. So all these people, even at the time, were like, I mean, it was sort of the big. Like, I'm trying to remember. Okay, Brenda Blethyn was like clearly was it. Like she was getting cast in a lot of things. I was watching a lot of Brenda Blethyn at this time.
Did you watch Little Voice?
Yes.
Okay. Because that was my first introduction to her. Potential Ewan McGregor month.
Oh, that would be good.
And I've already dubbed it Ewan McGregor. Moving on. Go on.
Wait. I don't get it.
Next May?
Ewan McGregor.
Oh, McGregor.
Yeah.
Sorry, I heard something else. Anyway, it's got Jeremy Piven. It's got Jennifer Tilly. It has Jean
Martha
Adams.
Plimpton.
Martha
What?
Plimpton.
I'm sorry. I was about to mention Martha Plimpton.
Yep.
Like, it has like some great people and.
Oh, and starring Gretchen Mol. Sorry,
Yes.
Gretchen Mol.
Yeah.
You kind of faded into the.
I mean, she was charming in this. Like, I'm gonna say, but still, like, these are good actors. Did they all just get together and be like, "Can we do this in a weekend and convince the studio to pay us, and then we have to make one less shitty movie?" Like, that is the only explanation I have for this movie.
It's really. Oh, again,
we had 3 sets. We won't do any exteriors. We'll keep the exteriors to a dull roar.
We can do that. Well, the past is the same. We just need to change a few books placements, and then the set's the same.
Yeah, exactly. We can keep the house exactly the same.
So going to the actual plot of it. You see, like the first 15 minutes of this movie is this little boy who comes to a Thanksgiving thing with his father. He just lost his mother. You find out through the exposition dialogue that not only did his mother die in the last year, but he also discovered the body.
Yeah.
So the fact that this kid is
And he's 5.
speaking
he's
about 5 years old. The fact that he's speaking is commendable because
Yeah.
that's
I mean, to be fair, he's not speaking much, but that makes sense.
right. Well, he's taking it all in. That's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
The kids that he sees at this Thanksgiving meal party, what have you, Brenda Blethyn,
I think.
is pregnant, and she goes into labor, and he helps, and it was more upsetting than I remember.
Oh my God. I really, because I think you warned me, like, after you were like, hey, so we're going to do music from another room.
Yep.
You're like, I'm like, oh, I've never heard of that. And you're like, it's one of those romantic comedies that, you know, you like roll, you know, you in particular, like you roll your eyes at. It's like one of those. And I was like, okay, so I kind of settled in. Like, I was like, I'm not going to hate on this. Like, this is fun. I'm going to pretend I'm on an airplane or in a hotel room with the flu. And this is on. Like, it's good. And I sit down and I think, oh, it's just going to be really bland. And then the first, like, 15 minutes, first off, like, I'm like, oh, actually, this is nice. Like, because the kid is... it really remembered being an only child and walking into a household of a lot of children and just, like, being kind of that weird, like, taken aback, like a lot of siblings, not a lot of children, but a lot of siblings. And just that it's very overwhelming, you know, to walk in. And this was kind of a common experience of mine. And I was like, oh, this is like, okay, this is not bad. And then the birth scene happens, like 10 minutes. I was like, it hasn't even been, oh my God, it hasn't even been like 13 minutes. He's pressed into, who wants to describe what happens?
Well, it's definitely what labor is made the movies out to seem that it is.
Fastest labor ever.
Fast labor, no fluids.
Well, it is like her 6th or something.
I think she gives birth in a span of like 4 minutes of screen time.
Yeah, well, yeah. But even, yeah, it would be, so let's say that's, yeah, it's like a 2-hour birth. I mean, I know a friend of mine gave birth in like 4 hours and it was her first kid, but like, still.
Yeah. Well, was there meant to be an implied, like, he was staring for 2 hours and then he was discovered and then she gave birth? No, that was like...
No, you're right. You're right. Yeah, that was the fastest. Yeah, you're right. And I was so, like, weirded out. Okay, so...
And 3 minutes of that birth was making it so he could make sure that the umbilical cord was not wrapped around this baby's neck.
Yes. Yeah, it was a good portion. It was not... There wasn't... They really dragged it. They really, like... No pun intended. They really milked that scene because it could have just been basically he has to give birth because the father is an army doctor, so he doesn't see a lot of births, but they can't get her to the hospital in time. So what they do, so basically, but the umbilical cord ends up wrapped around the neck. But he said, "I'm too drunk and
my hands are too big,
So then he sees his little 5-year-old boy.
Come here, Danny. I have a job for you.
I know. And then...
Every kid wants to feel useful.
And you would just think like, okay, a lot of movies would kind of go away. Would just sort of like...
Yeah, that would be where you would fade to black. And then the baby would be born.
And the baby would be born.
Yeah.
But no, we've so far seen like 8 minutes. I really should have timed this, but we should... Like, I felt like the vast majority of the birth was just watching his face, which maybe was watching his face as this 5-year-old boy puts his hand, and then they keep flashing to Brenda. They never the mom, I guess. Yeah. Like she never gets a name. I feel like
she does. I just forgot it.
Okay,
I forgot it.
And it's not on my little handy cheat sheet. So
the internet.
Well, just the cast thing on Google.
Her name's Grace.
Yes. Okay, Grace. They keep flashing like to her face, looking at him. And I'm like, this is not what I was expecting. Yeah. Like it was very fleshy.
It's one of those scenes where intellectually I can say, okay, I see how someone might have said this would work on paper, you know, like, oh, this is going to be cute. It's going to be endearing. It's going to be funny. And I don't think it successfully pulled off any of those things. It just seemed like weird and kind of contrived, creepy.
Yeah.
I just felt bad for the kid.
I'm just like, exactly. I felt like this would have been a really traumatic thing. Like I keep thinking it's like, oh, if it was, because it felt like it was kind of like an animal, like if you were on a farm or something, like, can I say that? But it's like, it's a really intimate thing to like I just kept thinking about it. And then I felt kind of guilty. Like birth is a natural process. I shouldn't think it's gross. Like I shouldn't have, this is like, I sort of kept being at war with myself. Like, I'm like, why would he do this to a child? And then I'm like, but he actually, like, he's saving a life. Like, it was all very intense for me watching this because I kept being at war with how kind of grossed out and how I felt like this was like an incredibly traumatic incident for the child.
Yep. Yeah. Another one.
And I was trying, when I read it, I was trying to think like, well, how would he participate in the birth in a way that would make this make sense? And then I see it, I'm like, oh.
I mean, I feel like they could have set up the same idea of fated romance or him falling in love literally upon first sight if he had simply been present for the birth, right?
I was thinking like he boils the water, he gets the towels. There was none of that, by the way. Sanitation was obviously not really a big priority. There was no, like...
It's not very realistic.
It's not, yeah.
Well, how long does it take to boil water? Like 8 minutes?
That's true.
They did not have 8 minutes.
Well,
she's British. She would have had an electric kettle. Like, it would have been 3 minutes. Like, I'm sorry.
Yes.
I think you're absolutely right that, we shouldn't be like, oh no, birth, gross. And, he did, save a life and whatever. But at the same time, there was something in the execution that
I think it's the execution.
Yeah. And also, I don't know. Have you guys seen Airplane, the movie?
Oh,
yes.
Okay. The part where there's little Jimmy in the cockpit and the pilot keeps asking him inappropriate questions. Yeah. And for some reason, the only thing I could think of during the scene was, have you ever seen a cervix before, Danny?
Yeah. Oh my God, yes.
That's really all I could think of.
That was fantastic.
That was really well played. Also, I love all airplane jokes. Love that movie.
So I feel like this is his first experience with, the intimate part of the opposite sex, which, that might be a strange first experience.
It's a really strange, well, that's what I was thinking too. And then also what he says is, he's like, she's about to give birth. I'll explain later. Like, that the father actually says this to him.
That's a drunk father.
Yes, and he is drunk, but yes.
But also, if he was drunk, like, you see them... it doesn't matter. It's just like, well, were you going to spend the night at this place? What was going to happen?
I was assuming that. Like, that's what it seemed like. But then you find out, they're actually living at an army base really close by. Yeah. So I don't know if it was like, why don't we do that? Like, why don't we make a weekend of it? I don't know. People did this at our house all the time, or we did it at theirs. Like, they live just far enough that, like... they have room. I don't know. I guess I was assuming that he stayed over.
Well,
because I think they did, like, weren't they like doing stuff in the morning?
Well, the end of the movie answers that question. But let's move past the first.
Sorry, I can't.
15
I will never be able to move past the first 15 scenes of that movie.
Well, that set the scene because if you remember this movie like I did in trailer chunks. I'm gonna marry her. So he's holding, he's not holding the baby, he's helping. And what's funny is that as the father is giving the mother giving the mother the baby, he's just like kind of holding the baby but also like handing her over as well. I'm just like the kid acting, I don't know if it's just like the fact that it's a child actor or the fact that this kid is still traumatized and still doing what is
I couldn't tell either. I was really debating. I was like, is this kid just an amazing actor or is just like trauma
translates very well. All right, so Danny, this smash cut to all these years later. Danny, you find out that he's going to go back to London with his father. He's studying in Italy and he's doing mosaic restoration, and that is. I don't even know where to begin with that because that sounds so cool.
Doesn't it? But see, I was like, okay.
It sounds...
Maybe, this is pretty sexy if like...
I didn't say sexy.
No, I think this is sexy. I'm just saying, first, it's if somebody who looked like Jude Law walked over and was
Did anything.
I do... Well, yeah. No, but like...
Resident expert.
I would say... I mean, I don't know. Like, I think like historical mosaic restoration, that's a really sexy job.
Very romantic.
It's incredibly romantic.
They're good with their hands. I mean, it's got it all, man.
A little bit.
They're specialists.
Maybe for me, it's a little bit too romantic because, again.
Because you're more of like a Gretchen Mol character, an Anna Swan.
I do like a good software engineer.
I mean...
Hint.
I mean, they do say, like, there's some statistics that, software engineers... actually have like a really high quality sex lives.
Hang on. You said statistics and software engineer in the same sentence. You're turning me on.
I know. I know how to break through.
Ladies, are we here to talk about Jude or what?
We're here to talk about the things Jude Law makes us think about.
Okay, wait,
you would know this. Has he played any software engineers in any other roles? You don't have to think about that right now.
Searching my memory banks, I have to say no off the top of my head, but don't quote me on that.
Interesting. Okay, well, here's something. In the trivia that I read, it said that this is Jude Law's least favorite movie.
I wonder why.
I'm not shocked by that.
I'm going to guess that if you polled every one of those people, with the exception of possibly Jennifer Tilly, who is maybe she's got another one. I'm going to go with most of them really say
that's an
this
interesting.
is their least. Now I just want all of them. I want to write all of them to all of them.
There's that, but also do you think it's possible, because this was very early in his career.
Yes.
Is it possible that this soured him on romantic comedies for a long portion? Because if you look at his entire, career, there's not a lot of romantic comedies. There two?
The Holiday.
Yep. That's it.
Pause. Yeah, I guess that really is it.
In a way, if you're an actor and you, I guess, to me, I don't know, there's something, a lot of the scripts, this is a good example, are not really very well, there's not a lot of flesh. There's not a lot of meat on that bone, of the character. So I don't know if it would be that much fun.
We'll ask Matthew McConaughey. He can make it work.
Well, what I'm saying is but I think there's must be a decision that you make. And
I think that's an interesting question, because like you just said, it is one of the very first movies in his filmography. And a lot of times when people are just starting out, they can't be picky, right?
Exactly.
So I wonder if it was a matter of that he just didn't want to do anymore, or maybe people were looking at his past work and were like, this isn't the type of role for him, and then he didn't get offered those. I don't know. But
yeah.
I'll also say that watching him in this, it didn't feel right for him to be in this movie either.
No, but I have to say I didn't just enjoy watching him. I really even that, it breaks through. How do you feel, Meg, as the resident, Jude Law expert?
So he's incredibly handsome. At this age, I think he must have been 24, 25 when he was filming this. And, he's such a handsome man, but I have to be honest, watching this movie, I think he might be a little bit too young, because I was like, oh no, am I an old woman now?
You're having that moment.
I'm feeling a little bit weird, am I
is this a cougar situation?
He seems like a child. I know he's not, but he's so young in this movie.
I would say though, watching him, because this is only one year later is A Talented Mr. Ripley,
yeah,
out, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how is it that he managed just to look? Did this stay on the shelf for a while? Maybe
I don't know about the production, but it does seem like he grew up a lot between those two movies.
Because you got baby Matt Damon in The Talented Mr. Ripley, and then baby Jude Law in this movie. It's for me, he didn't seem the same age. He still seemed very young,
very boyish,
very, very boyish. But at the same time, though, bam, Talented Mr. Ripley 1 year later, it still seems like that's still Jude Law.
I agree. Yep.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I'm just thinking, I realized something where suddenly I'm like, being 10 years apart, I just suddenly had that moment of I was just thinking back, you're like, oh, baby Matt Damon. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I remember that from watching Talented Mr. Ripley. I was like, oh, holy shit, he was young. But I was like, we were, when I was watching Talented Mr. Ripley and all this, we were all around the same age, Matt Damon, Jude Law, and I, it wasn't oh, I'm watching these adults. It was I am watching people approximately my age, I think a few years older, but look a lot better now than I certainly do. So so I was just trying to think, I guess, in that, but yeah, he looks very boyish, and
agreed.
But also, I don't know, the character he plays,
I don't like him.
I don't like him. Thank you.
Yeah,
I'm trying really hard not to. I'm glad that the gloves are off, because I was like, I don't want to crap on this movie.
I'll tell you my favorite thing that Danny did in this whole movie was that he was nice to a bee. And I was like, yes.
Yes.
I wrote that down. I'm just like, wow, they're talking a lot about bees. Ask Meg about that.
Yeah, so for listeners, I'm a wannabe amateur beekeeper. So anytime someone is nice to bees, that's very endearing to me.
I thought that was great. But he was...
I have to send you there's an episode from, there's this Big Dream, Small Spaces, which is some weird Netflix, it's a British gardening show, but there's a whole episode about bees I have to send you.
Sounds excellent.
I'm gonna, and we'll link it in the show notes. It's really lovely and makes you believe in humanity. That whole show does. Big dreams, small spaces.
Well, I'm glad you found the positivity in some of it.
Yes.
Because even when he's trying to be helpful in some ways, most of the time he's just being very pushy, very insistent, inappropriate. But what's I think is kind of fun is that when he comes back, he's supposed to be living with a girlfriend who apparently doesn't like him because he takes things too literally, like, I love you and we should live together.
Yes, he's moving. I mean, it looks like it's California. I'm going to guess it's so. Like, so you're saying like big army base. I don't know, maybe somewhere like near, you said it's about an hour away. I'm guessing like 29 Palms or something. I don't know, whatever. So that's why I was thinking California, maybe.
Unclear.
Like if there's a large.
It was definitely filmed in California, I believe, in Pasadena.
I think that's
okay,
right.
okay. So
And
California.
Yeah, and so he, through a series of circumstances, this is the kind of whole you work for your dream in one aspect of it, but you also do the whole, you find the help wanted sign, you live above the bakery, all the stereotypes of the rom-coms where you know,
and they take you in as kind of like the kind of
a son.
A son
or a nephew or something like that.
Yeah, like,
and of course,
and get involved in your love life, and they think it's adorable. Yeah, like all of those.
And they try to also show, oh no, I'm like the best. I studied in Italy. He's like, yeah, okay, Michelangelo, polish up these tiles, and I'm like, yeah, okay, let's check off some more stereotypes / trope on the list.
There's
like
so many tropes and stereotypes.
Oh my god,
irritating.
And also, and he so he shows up, and basically he just, the minute he sees her, he just decides that he's going to, that like has a terrible life, like she's miserable, when you've absolutely, he has no evidence to prove this. And actually with the last girlfriend, it's obviously the last girlfriend is terrible, because basically he is moving from either Italy or England, where he's, his father's been stationed for years.
Yeah.
Either way, he's moved to California. Not easy.
Yeah.
Not an easy thing to do. And I mean, granted, he's a U.S. citizen, so okay, he doesn't have to like deal with that, with the whole green card thing or whatever. But he doesn't have to deal with working under the table, so that's nice. But doesn't that just show terrible judgment? Like, if he wasn't sure,
yeah.
I don't.
So passionate.
I don't know if we're supposed to believe
he's
like
passionate.
No, I think we're supposed to believe he's passionate, but are we supposed to believe that the girlfriend, that he's just so romantic that he didn't listen, or that the girlfriend is a bitch? Like, I can't tell which one.
I think the joke was that she did say those things, and then she was like, but why'd you believe me?
Yeah,
so I think that
it's supposed to be a bit of both.
I think it was trying to paint her as like just not understanding why he would do that, but also I don't want to say that she was necessarily a bitch, but I mean, not a bitch, but like that they were leaning that toward. Like she's kind of the damaged one. Yeah.
Well, I would say they both are, but for different reasons.
Yes.
Yeah. So
which becomes apparent later.
It's like you were saying, they try to check all these boxes that you would think would make you like Danny, right? He's a romantic, he's passionate, he's
got
young,
the cool, sexy job.
Yeah, he's an artist, which is, a great trope for romantic comedies. It's like he's the creative one, she's the practical one. But then, in practice, he's really not that charming.
No.
And he's very self-centered. He's talking about himself at her mother's funeral and about the relationship. So he doesn't do much to be very endearing, which makes me, I mean, you have to have both of the leads be charming and endearing to have a successful rom-com, right?
Yes.
And so I'm seeing him not being that charming. I wouldn't say particularly charming either. She's fine, but she starts out as that sort of like cold fish, aloof, practical woman stereotype, right? And that she just needs a free spirit to unlock this other side of her. But
thaw.
Yeah. And so looking at the two of them together, I don't see any chemistry and I don't see any shared interests. And also most of their scenes in the beginning, they share with parts of her family.
Yes.
So I'm just like, these people never get one-on-one time together. How do they even know that they like anything about each
exactly
other?
And actually and even like, so at one point he's So Jennifer Tilly plays Nina, who is blind and is also sort of going through a transformation.
And
her
she's
own.
Anna's sister.
Yep.
Yes, thank you. She's Anna's sister, and Anna is so the idea is that Anna's supposed to be protective of her, but the first scene is her trying to push Anna to go somewhere with her, to go roller skating. I think it is skating of some kind.
Oh wow, I didn't even put that together.
That's true. Yeah.
And it's not, and she like keeps trying, but is like, okay, I'm not going to make a federal case out of this. But it's later on that she's constantly being accused of like keeping her, in a box. And I'm like, well, then maybe you introduce her as that, but instead she's, and that just didn't really, make a lot of sense to me. But anyway, that was actually one of my favorite parts of this movie was there was this whole arc of Nina basically coming. She's obviously been very, sheltered, and she has a lot of anxiety about the world outside of her home. And her mother's illness, which I don't think they ever spell out.
I call this in my notes the magic mystery illness.
Okay.
She's got like consumption. She's got like something with that level of
also dementia in a way. She's lucid, but I don't know if that's
I mean, nothing about her illness makes any sense.
It's just there to serve the plot.
It's just there to serve the plot, and yeah, and it's just so it's very confusing. Like they plant little seeds, but you're like, they're telling me one thing but showing me another.
For sure.
Yeah.
So one thing I wanted to ask you guys is that this was the first time I had seen the movie. I remember last time before I said maybe I'd seen it before. I definitely had not. Upon watching it, I was like, wait, no, this is all new to me. But so when
or like me, where you had seen it and just completely forgot.
For a moment, I confused the titles with Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil, which is totally different. Jude Law.
I want to. I love
she
that
mentioned that
really?
as a possible other Jude Law movie. I'm like, first of all, honey, we really need to pick a movie where Jude Law lives.
Yeah, doesn't die.
Second of all,
he doesn't die in this movie.
That's true.
You're welcome. Second of all,
so done. Now I can do whatever I want.
Well, it's also a Cusack.
I was trying to remember.
Yes.
Okay, so I don't know.
But
how many more Cusack runs can we do?
6. Call Kelly.
But so I didn't know where the plot was going. It obviously turned out to be super duper conventional and all the tropes and no surprises. But when I started watching it, I, for some reason, thought there would be something new and exciting about it, because as soon as they introduced the Nina character, the sister character, I thought to myself, I was like, oh, it's so obvious that Jude Law thinks he's in love with Anna.
I totally thought that
but
too.
now, but then
I'm like, what if it's Nina?
Yeah, that's what I thought. I was like, okay, he's obviously going to be her reader. He's going to read to her, and then they'll share this great romance, and he'll be like, oh, it was Nina who I loved all along. And then I couldn't decide if I was more mad that I was wrong in my prediction or just that the movie was so predictable ultimately.
I think you should be mad at the movie, because actually, I'm sorry, Anna Karenina is in the middle of rereading it right now, and it's just fantastic. Like, it was great. I was like, can this movie just be like Jude Law reading all of Anna Karenina?
Well, he is in an adaptation of Anna
he
Karenina.
is actually,
if you want to see that.
Exactly, which I put off seeing. To like Jennifer Tilly and Brenda Blethyn, like that would be a fantastic movie.
Well, there also, I read it. I don't know if you guys read it in the trivia. The sisters,
I did not.
Anna, Karen, and Nina.
I know.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so
Jesus.
I didn't even pay attention to that. either.
The Anna I noticed. I was like, oh, it's kind of
too.
No, Karen
oh my gosh.
and Nina. Well, I'll
not even characters in it. Just
allow me to trope you one more further, and they decided to just like, hey, here's something, and not go with it. Martha Plimpton's character, where she is lively. I didn't realize that the theater thing that she was doing was just a side thing, because she's also working in some sort of, I guess, assisted living facility.
Right.
And so there's this play, and she's taking advantage of, I'm still trying to figure out how I feel about her character, because she's just like, it's kind of obvious that you have a crush on my sister, you think I won't help you out? Be in this part and I'll help you out. And I'm like, okay, I don't really get that. But then she kind of goes off on a couple of customers in the bakery, and you don't actually see what ignites it. So I don't know if I could take her side. I'm like, is she the stereotypical angry feminist sister?
I think so.
I think so.
I thought there would be something that comes to that, but then she immediately crumbles into, no, I'm a mess. I'm 29 years old.
Yeah.
Yes,
Watch me smoke a cigarette. This is poison.
Yeah, that's actually, I was really disappointed with that scene too. Because I remember when I kind of, at some point I ran across a description of this, I think when I was looking for the...
a better movie.
What? No. Like any movie I could be watching instead of watching this. How many other great Jude Law movies could I be watching when I'm watching this?
They're so not rom-coms though, so go on.
Yeah, that's true. And he does die at the end. But no such luck. So and it said it's an independent comedy. And so I was like, oh, okay, maybe they're quirky. Like I was like, so that could be just became a lens. I kept kind of coming like, oh, they're quirky.
So quirky.
And they're so quirky.
So quirky.
But I was like, then when I saw that moment, I was like, yeah, like you just sold out the sisterhood.
Yeah.
You just sold out the sisterhood, Martha Plimpton. You did.
Well, like you were,
it's not her fault.
No.
Like you were saying, Polina, about how the movie tells us one thing and then shows us another. You reminded me, they keep telling us in the movie that Anna's kind of the caregiver for the whole family. She's like looking after everyone, and all these crazy, eccentric, quirky characters are just sort of, they keep piling on her, but we never really see her taking care of any of them. And then we just have
maybe the
weird
sister.
cast.
The sister, like
the sister,
Nina.
but she alludes to, I helped you when you were sick and I helped you stay on your feet for that. And we never see any of it. And we just have this weird cast of eccentric characters that, we give them this weird stereotype and then that's all we see of them.
And if she's so close to her family, like two things that like confuse me. So one, she's really close to her family and they decide to go to Paris, to elope to Paris and tell them. And I'm like, but your mother just died like a few days ago. Like, I mean, even if you're like, I want to celebrate life, like flying off to Paris and leaving your siblings, like if you're all this like close and you take care of that, like, they're all like, go, yay. But wouldn't you be like, you know what? At least we have each other. Like there's just, it didn't, like that also didn't make no sense to me. Like it seemed quite, it didn't clueless. Like it just didn't, that part didn't ring emotionally true because I think, often when someone passes, like you do have this sense and, whatever, grief affects everyone differently. But, you kind of, it's like, here are the people who feel the same way I do right now. These are the people I want to be around. Now, I know not everybody acts this way, but it's a conventional romantic comedy. Like it's,
right.
Why wouldn't you adhere to some fairly common emotional truth? Like,
I think that really gets to the heart of the problem with this movie is that no one acts like a real person in any way.
No.
They're just sort of puppets that are there for this story about fate, apparently.
And if I could use that as a segue to Jeremy Piven and Jane Addams, their dysfunctional marriage.
Yes, please.
She's pulling out the gun again. That's not funny.
I had a real problem with how they made suicidal ideations and tendencies the butt of the joke,
right.
and also dementia with the mother. I'm not saying that you can't have dark humor, and dark humor definitely can be done successfully, but it definitely was not handled in a thoughtful way at all in this movie.
And I think funny.
I think if there were a few things that were like kind of so the Jane Addams and Jeremy Piven characters, they have a small child who overhears these shots that they're firing at each other. Like at one point, so the joke is that you like she appears out of nowhere, like on the regular with a gun, and everyone says, oh, my shrink won't let me have bullets. And I'm like, shrinks? I'm like, first off, I mean, okay, it was 1998. I don't really remember what the gun laws were, but I'm going to say that your shrink is not the only place you can get bullets, which she demonstrates later. at one point they find out they're real bullets, but the child is always in that room, and I found it just terrifying to me. Like it wasn't funny enough to be earned, and then like the dark humor aspect of it, it was too cheap, and then
much like the bullets.
Yeah. But then she also is like, he is cheating on these, like, it'd be one thing if this was all in her head and he wasn't cheating, but he is literally, he's driving his wife to literal madness, and he is constantly cheating. Mm-hmm. So yeah, like, what is funny about, like, ha 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 ha, so funny. This woman who is constantly being cheated on feels a little like she's crazy, like she's being gaslit. Like, of course she. Right. I mean, I agree. It just, I would have almost when the at one point when she actually finds real bullets, I would have wanted it. I'm like, oh yeah, it would be great if he hadn't actually cheated on anyone. At least that would have been something. But no.
I don't even know. I don't know if there's any way you could dig yourself out of that plot hole.
No, you're right.
So I have a question for you guys. Were there any parts of this movie you did think were funny, that were successful in their humor?
All my notes are mean. Well, what I did write down is that there are instances where she's literally running away from Danny, and he's running after her. I'm just like, run, girl, run.
Yeah, keep running.
And he's got the pig costume. The pig costume. He was wearing that. I was irritated that he's trying to have this conversation with her as this play is going on.
Yeah, and he has got a job to do in the play.
And as did he not read the script? He was like, "What do you mean baseball bats?" I'm like, "Did you not even read your part?"
Exactly.
What is going on?
And also, they would have rehearsed it at least once.
Right. I'm going to say the part where he got beat by baseball bats was kind of funny.
Yeah, that was sort of satisfying.
That was something. And also, like, back to Grace, when he was first introduced. I mean, again, all the cliches of he sees Anna kissing another man, he gets hit by a car door, and then he gets knocked out. Hi, my name's Danny, and he passes out. Yeah, all the little instances where he's trying to, like, say, like, again, they put it in the trailer. Last time I met you, you were covered in afterburst. I'm like, that could be funny, but it's not. It's not.
That might have been the closest thing to a joke.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
It was probably the best line.
Yeah, it probably was.
Right.
I have to say, like, my only saving, the part I found was fun. It was the whole, like, they kept calling him. There was some line with, like, Jennifer Tilly with Nina and Jesus, who I assume is Jesus.
Well, he called himself Jesus.
Yeah, he called himself Jesus.
Her
Their whole, like, report was
slash
like,
husband.
Oh, eventually.
Wait, what?
That was her boyfriend / husband.
Yeah. That was sweet.
I did think it was kind of cute, those two.
Yeah. And they said something about their names. Oh, there was a line in which they said something about, it was like, I was named after a character from The Seagull.
Oh, yeah.
And then he's like, I was named for, I forget, it was like a football player or something. It was like, it was really cute because it was Jesus. Was He's like introduces Jesus. So.
Yeah. I mean, that was pretty.
Okay, nice. There was also one more funny thing, but I don't think they intended it to be funny. Is when Grace, the mom, passes away. She asks for a shot of vodka, like, right, and she drinks it, and then I don't know why throws it through the door from the window, but she. What her husband says to her is "na zdrowie," which is "to your health," which is like
you're literally dying,
like you're in the act of dying. And I was like, wow, that's just got a lot of pathos. And that's
pretty good, actually.
Yeah,
but it may have just been an accident.
I think it was an accident. It was like, oh, we're talking. She loved Russian novels.
Yeah.
I wonder if she actually knew what that meant.
That's too high-minded for the movie. I think I'm going to give the movie too much credit.
Yeah.
As much as I want to get off the negativity train, I do have to, before we move on to our next area of the show, the coin. The coin. And the fact that there is the whole, like, oh, you like this girl, this is what you do. You try to get her to say heads or tails. And the question is, will we or will we not become lovers? Heads or tails? And it's a two-headed coin. So, and I'm just like, I'm so upset right now on 12 different levels. And I was crossing my fingers that something will happen, that young me was okay with this whole romantic scenario, but he actually went forward with it.
He did.
And I have to give her credit for the fact that she said, yeah,
Tails.
It's tails.
Because she sees the coin,
Yeah.
no,
She
supposedly.
sees heads.
No,
I don't know. They made it sound like she just has supersonic, like she's supersonic. She's got really good eyesight because it looked like there was a flash of recognition on her face.
Oh, interesting. I didn't
said,
interpret it that way. I thought
I was clinging to some straws there.
you were clinging. Oh, no, I thought that she didn't know that it was a two-headed coin, but she saw heads, decided, no, fuck you.
Yeah, that's what I thought
great.
too.
You know, both those are good.
Well, no, if that were the case, I don't think she'd ever would have gone back to him. You're trying to...
I don't know. This.
How young do you think she was?
I would guess 20.
Okay. For some reason, I was thinking like 22.
I was thinking, yeah, I don't know. She's the
maybe more like
I mean,
21
she's
or
the
22,
youngest,
yeah.
right?
Right.
Well, so we know that she's 5 years younger than Danny, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And he just graduated from some graduate program, so he's 20, right?
Graduate program? Okay.
Or like, a post something. I mean, post college, right?
Well, how old do you, like, this is how I was doing it. How old do you think, like, Jeremy Piven's character and Martha Plimpton's character were? Because they seem like 8 or 9. So if she was born and she's supposed to be 29.
Oh, that's true.
Then,
yeah.
maybe she's supposed to be like 20. You're right.
That was my approximation.
Yeah. Yeah, she's young.
Very young.
She's very young.
Yeah. Oh, boy.
Well, at least then I can give her a little bit of naivete.
Yeah, I actually, that leads a little bit into what I think happens after the movie, but
Awesome.
I can save that. But I do think that her youth kind of informs a lot of the character, or at least what I think she might be doing later.
Okay, well, I'd like to think so. But, okay, well then we'll use that as a half segue of when did they fall in love? And I'm sorry I said it that way, but that's how very cynical I'm being right now with my jaw kind of...
So I guess what I will say is that, fine, I will accept your premise, movie, your dumb, stupid premise that Danny fell in love with her upon first sight. Because whatever, it's a totally unbelievable movie. So I'm going to say, sure, that's when he fell in love with her. And
At 5?
Sure, why not? No, I think that he falls in love very quickly and very easily and very wholeheartedly, and then falls out of love perhaps just as easily. But have you guys read or watched Twilight at all?
I have seen the movies.
Okay, so I call Danny and Anna the Jacob Black and Renesmee Cullen because...
He printed on her?
Yes.
Oh, God.
Danny imprinted on Anna at birth.
Okay.
Oh,
Danny pulled a Jacob Black.
At the very least, he was 5 and not 20-something
Yes.
when that happened.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So
No, I think that makes a lot of sense. I like that. That actually, wow, that explains a lot.
so
So he's a pig, not a wolf.
yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So he's some sort of magical werepig, and she is, I guess she ages at a normal rate, but they somehow imprinted on one another, because that's the only way that this love story makes sense, is if there's some supernatural nonsense. So that's what I'm going with from Danny's side. And sorry, I'm just ragging on this movie. I guess the bottom line is I was not convinced they were ever in love.
I'm not on board.
Yeah. And I guess I don't have an answer for when I think Anna fell in love with him, because I don't think she ever did truly. I think that she was very caught up by the idea of, being able to be independent from her family in a way that she hadn't been before. And Danny just kind of happened to be there when she had that realization. So I don't think she loves him.
Polina?
Wow, that makes a lot more sense. Yeah, I mean, yes, it's a stupid premise, but I also understand this idea of, these, I mean, it's, when he's 5, he has a real, his mother dies, so the world stops making sense, right? I mean, when you're a child, you kind of need to just have this concept of your parents being a forever force in your life. And I think it really does mess with your sense of like order. And I think it makes sense that then you have this other incredibly traumatic incident. And the only way, you can make sense of it is by kind of having this idea. And then now what I find odd is he moves back to this town and he isn't like, I'm going to go find her. It just kind of presents itself, but it presents itself very quickly.
Yeah.
So I do think when he sees her, like, it is that moment of like, oh my God, because he's like, what am I doing here? How do I don't even know why he stayed. Like, that makes no sense. But like, I can see where when he sees her again, he has a moment of like, kind of gets carried away because they are young, right? Mm-hmm. And it's just suddenly it's like, okay, it's a terrifying time. I'm out in the world. I have this career that like could work, but also is quite rare. And he was, and he kind of says, oh, actually it's like a thing people need less and less. And so that isn't working out the way he wanted. Like, so maybe it's like kind of an ordering force. For her, I honestly have like mentally scrubbed through this movie a million times and I cannot find a place. If I had to, I think it would be, when she realizes that, when she sees Nina and Jesus connect and she really does, she's like, oh, that's actually what passion looks like. Now, why she like, I mean, your explanation was probably the closest because I've been, as I said, I've been like scrubbing my, the whole movie, but I'm trying to figure this out. But of this idea of like, the next person that you see at that moment is like, oh, I've been wrong. I've been wrong this whole time. And then that's the next person you see. Because you're young and like, I don't know. And if you don't have an experience, it's like her mother says, oh, you don't really have an experience of magic. And it's like, okay, well, this seems magical. Like, let's try this. So I'm going to go with that she's like, oh, I want passion. Here's somebody who feels passionate for me. Because she's probably also grown up on these crazy movies where like someone does something which is really stalkery, but, is sort of rounded up to romantic. I mean, so I'm going to go with that it was when, that she kind of realizes, oh, this is what passion is. And I don't know, something happens in her head. That's the only thing I can think of. And like, Jude Law is a objectively attractive man,
He's got an accent.
And he's got an accent. I mean, he's kind of, and he's got sort of an interesting career. And his apartment smells nice because it's above a bakery. And by the way, worst bakery delivery guy ever. Yeah. Like he's putting it in this bicycle basket, like
on an angle,
askew. He never really protects. I mean,
that cake's going to be messed up.
You know how depressing it is when you open up, like you carefully pick out a cake and then you open up the stupid box and it's like the cake is like shifted in transit and it's just depressing.
Yeah.
And I just felt really bad for the cake.
I think he used all of his gentle hands for when he brought a life into the world, Polina.
Yeah. Well, no, so, I mean, he's restoring, he's a magician with the tiles.
Well, that's not his job. I swear when I saw I didn't look it up, but I swear the guy who played the baker, I'm like, is that Hans from like Mighty Ducks 2? I don't know for sure. So now that's in the back of my head.
I've never seen Mighty Ducks 2.
Get out.
I know. Well, I can't. It's my house.
Your house, but get out.
Sure, but you have to pay my rent.
No. Problem solved.
I knew I'd work my way into my home.
I love what Meg said. Mm-hmm. If you believe the premise of the movie, and if we are believing the premise of the movie,
have to.
I suppose that Jude Law's Danny fell in love with her at first sight. I would say he fell in love with her again when he got hit by the car door.
Right.
And we also.
I mean, concussions do make you a little insane.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting because like he hit the door the first time, and then he fell in love with her, but he also passed out afterwards, so he may have hit his head again. So if the law of concussions,
oh my God, the law of yes.
even number of concussions, that's not good.
Well, your second concussion has as much like if you get a second concussion in a short period of time. The effects are incredibly pronounced.
But if labor is
and possibly permanent.
Okay, so if we do the math, if labor is 4 minutes in this movie, the even number of concussions, if you divide by 6, which is the number of children she should have had because it was a different script. He fell in love with her. Yeah, I think it was meant to be like the whole like spam lightning strike. That's fine. We'll buy the premise. I don't want to put any type of real credence on her either, because even as she's getting on the train with him, I don't buy it either. I think the fact that she's like more relieved, she seems sad because she seems to have crushed his spirit. I'm like, maybe you should be upset because he's ruined your life. But granted, she's 20, so her life is not ruined. No one's, unless there's like death involved.
Yeah, it's like this is a guy. Like she basically broke up with a boyfriend.
And he wasn't even a boyfriend. He was just like a really enthusiastic stalker.
No, I mean like the fiance. Like he didn't ruin, her life because really what she gave up is
a guy.
Like she didn't. I don't even know what she did for a job. Like it never really saw her working.
Bees.
Oh no, she works at a garden.
The garden. Yeah, we don't know what she does there though. Really.
No.
Yeah. Okay, so they're in movie love.
Yeah.
And that makes us feel good, but not older us. Maybe unexperienced younger versions of you would have enjoyed it. I think I enjoyed it at the time. But
I'm sure I would have enjoyed younger me would have enjoyed this.
Yeah, I think I would have. Yeah, I think I wouldn't have felt like things were yeah. I mean, I probably would have rolled my eyes. I think this is one of those, if you see it, like if I saw this in the right circumstances.
Sure, like on a plane.
On a plane, I was totally thinking a plane, and I would like secretly, I would just kind of have a special place in my heart for it.
Okay.
So how about you? Like what is, I don't think this is the one question you never asked me, and I realize that we're in a tight segment, but I just wanted to know, like, what was like
this movie,
the younger you, when you look at the younger you, do you like, oh, Diana?
I may have just been taken in by the idea of fate, you're destined to come back together, and in addition to that, when he didn't even bother to look at the coin in the end.
That was kind of cute.
That was pretty cute. It was also tainted by the fact he's like, this is a real coin, right? It's like, what are you doing?
Yeah. Right.
You're an idiot and also an asshole.
Right. Yep.
But just, okay. Yeah. But you know what? If we were to go back to our first episodes of the podcast, I'm sure I'm not very polished, and Jude Law has eventually gone on to do some fantastic roles. And so we can all just keep harping on about somebody's, decisions when they made within their early 20s.
Yeah, no. I mean, and also, I mean, it's a job. A job's a job, right?
Well, I mean, this is my passion, Polina, so
yeah.
I have passion. I
mean, I thought you were referring to, like, we can't, like, Jude Law being in this movie. Like, he probably got, it's like you don't have a lot of choices.
Well, okay, they can't all be like...
Gattaca.
No, I was going to say like Chris Evans and not another teen movie, whereas that movie is not the finest of his entire, list of movies he's been in, but I still love it.
Yeah.
It makes me giggle.
But it's not that good, yeah.
No, it's a bad
This is not
movie.
this.
No, that's a bad movie. It's a terrible movie.
So wait, when do you feel like, so you feel like Gretchen Mol character never,
I don't think she ever did.
Yeah.
No. No, I maintain that, no. If we're going to go with the movie version of it, it's when she went for him.
Okay.
Yeah. No, cynical. She didn't. The end.
You look like you wanted to say something.
I was just thinking of the moment where she went after him and just I laughed. It was one of those moments where it was unintentionally funny, but she just says, "It was heads, I know," and then they start making out, and then Savage Gardens truly madly deeply. I busted out laughing. I was like, "Oh, Savage
I busted out laughing, and then I had one of those like I feel really old moments because I was like, wait, am I is it just that this movie is this like this song hit me at the wrong time, and that it's supposed like everyone's gonna get on me for being like, come on, that is a really romantic song.
No, I think one reason why I laughed is younger me, if I had watched that, I definitely would have thought that was the most romantic song to have in that moment. I loved Savage Garden when I was in middle school. So if that song had come on in a rom-com that I was watching as a teenager, I'd be like, oh, it's so romantic.
No, I like the song.
Yeah, okay,
it's a very romantic song. But for some reason, it's just like romantic song.
Yeah, totally. Well, and the thing I realized is I was like, this song does not. The song is like it. It doesn't go with any of the other songs. Like the music,
it really didn't.
It just was so random, and it made it even see. And then the actual sex scene too was very like I was like, well, at least I get to watch like Gretchen Mol and Jude Law like have sex. And then it was like see them covered just like with, you know, in his sad bed with like just a wide shot, and then just some darkly lit sheets just sort of moving around. It was not sexy at all.
No, another thing that was not sexy about that scene was that he had painted the name Anna on his wall.
That was freakish.
I didn't even see that.
That was freakish.
I was like,
I was distracted by that.
Her name on his
How
wall?
did I miss that?
It's insane.
I feel like I missed that. Like I blocked it out. Like I somehow was like I was like, it's too much already.
Well, at first I thought it
on the sheets.
I was like hoping to see some, you know, action, obviously.
That was our last movie.
Yeah,
yes,
that's true.
If you want to see Jude-Ly,
yeah, exactly.
watch the Towns of History.
Yeah, that's in my notes. Her name is on his wall.
Yep.
Oh, holy shit. Okay, I just want to say that all of my notes are, this movie is bonkers. Terrible judgment. And then obviously I wanted to write something else, but I didn't. I just was like, I can't.
No.
All right, so what happens? I'm gonna go. I'm actually gonna, because you went first last time, Meg.
Oh, sure. So
She's our gun.
what I mentioned before about Anna being young, I think that ultimately, the relationship will dissolve after a few months. I think that Anna will have been grateful for it. I believe they both say at various points in the movie that it's passion that will fade, and I think that will be an accurate prediction for their particular relationship. I think she'll realize that she was more happy about being relieved of the obligation of being a caregiver for her family than actually being in love with Danny himself, and I think that she will be the one to break it off. She'll try to make it, you know, amiable and like amicable. And then I think she's going to move abroad to Paris. I think there was a reason why they wanted to have the wedding there. I don't know. I'm just inventing some sort of passion of hers that she wants to go to Paris for some reason.
They don't give her much to work with.
No, they really don't. So let's say she goes to Paris. I'm sure she'll find someone eventually. She's young. She has plenty more time for more relationships. And I think that Danny will be, I mean, he's a very dramatic character, right? So I think that he'll be utterly heartbroken, and he'll throw another temper tantrum like he did in the beginning of the movie. And he'll say things like, I'll never love again. But I think that he'll come to the realization that he actually he likes embracing that idea of a suffering artist, you know, like, an artist always has their heart broken. And I think that he's going to return to Italy and do his mosaics there and have all sorts of passionate relationships that and begin quickly. And maybe he'll find someone eventually. I don't know. I'm honestly not too concerned about who these two end up with, but I think they'll both eventually look back fondly on this relationship. Danny less so than Anna, but
yeah, but he's one of those bitter. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, again, we don't have a lot to work with, so this is where my brain went. They're about to go traveling together. I think this is a terrible idea. I think that they're
going to Atlanta.
Yeah, that's true. Okay.
They're not going to Paris. They're going to Atlanta.
Yeah.
So
I never really caught why. I mean, I don't know if maybe just my brain.
That's where work is.
Oh, that's true. Okay.
Now, Paris was the elopement.
No, you're right. You're right. Oh, that's the word. Okay. Sorry. Actually, let me reformulate.
Oh, sorry. Didn't mean to totally.
No. This is good. So I thought maybe they were like gonna, I mean, I remember he was going to Atlanta eventually, but okay. So basically, this is so even worse. They're going to move in together.
Oh no.
This is a terrible idea. Like, I just really feel like, I think, it's like a couple weeks of fun. And then I think she's going to realize, like, he's just a miserable person. And I think also she's in like some serious grief. I mean, this is all happening just a few days after the funeral. So I have a feeling like there'll be a bunch of like, she'll kind of get into it and then she'll realize like, oh man, I'm kind of hiding from all this grief. I don't really think that, though I don't know if Danny has the emotional, like, I don't know if he has the emotional wherewithal to really deal with her grief. So I think that at that point, it's going to get sour. She's going to talk to her sister. And I bet actually it's going to be Karen, Martha Plimpton's character, who's going to, like, she's going to call her and basically be like, and she's going to be like, fuck this. You're 20. Like, just like, really, just who cares? Come back. But I think actually she's going to pick up Anna Karenina, the book, and she's going to really fall in love with Russian literature as a way of holding on to her relationship with her, of holding on to a piece of her mother. Mm. And it's going to be, and she's going to take that and become either a translator or, some sort of, journalist, like, she's going to kind of fall in love, or historian. Like, I think she's going to take her love of Russian literature as sort of a jumping off point for something she is really passionate about. And that's actually where she's going to find a lot of her passion, is in work. Like, I think she's going to realize, like, oh, actually, the way I feel about a topic is this really sustaining passion. And so, yeah, I just think it's going to end badly. I think it's going to end in a lot of tears. I think he's really so in his part, I think he's basically, now he is he's traveling. He has to sort of, and they are 5 years apart, which is actually a lot in your 20s. Mm-hmm. I mean, the difference between 20 and a 25-year-old are different. And I think he's going to realize, like, oh shit, I have some responsibility. And I don't think it's like a max. I mean, she's obviously knows how to take care of herself, but by virtue of the fact that the work is in Atlanta and I have like convinced her to go to Atlanta with me, I'm going to have to do something. I think he is, I think he's going to over-romanticize the whole idea, but the reality of like living with someone who's going through a lot, I just don't think he has the space for it. And I think I sort of agree with Meg. I think he's going to become extremely bitter and one of those guys who's like, every woman. I think he's going to be like Frasier in Frasier, in the show Frasier.
Oh, that Frasier.
That Frasier, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sorry. I was like, Frasier in, oh yeah, of course, Frasier. No, but like.
So not Smoking Joe Frasier?
Not Smoking Joe Frasier. No,
okay.
No. That's the Gattaca. That's like if the guy had lived. If Jude-Ly's character had lived. No,
so like Frasier.
Yeah, well, his whole thing is like, he'll fall in love, like women, sort of falls in love with women, thinks he's perfect, and then we'll realize they're not and start finding like flaws and thinking they're horrible. Like, I think he's one of those guys. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it's not going to end well for these crazy kids, but I don't think that they're going to be like traumatized. Like, I think that, Danny was heading here to begin with. I think she's 20. They're going to be fine. Yeah, not you.
Oh.
Yeah. You're doing that like, nah.
Hold on, I'm traumatized, actually.
I am
Something that I think really matters when I'm thinking about my what happens next. The answer is this is going to end very quickly.
I agree.
Well, yeah. What they're going to do is they're going to grip onto this for dear life because she ran away from home basically. And there's not like the same cell phone thing before because he apparently, if Danny had gotten a phone call, he would not have come out. I think this is going to go about 6 months. And I don't know if they'll ultimately end up in Atlanta because the idea of Atlanta was he's going to find work there. But she just happens to be tagging along. So if he's the one trying to find work, but he's the one that's full of passion, but she's the one who's stable, I really see that being a point of contention between the two. Because if he's the passionate one, but he's the one who's trying to do the, hold down the fort, pay the bills type of thing, it kind of clashes. And if she's trying to figure herself out, she comes from I can just basically from where they live and how she lives, she's very well taken care of. I don't see her being comfortable. And I'm not talking about like luxury, I'm talking about stability.
Yeah, like it's going to stress her out, this kind of more itinerant kind of lifestyle that he's going to.
And I see her just after it ending, I thought about maybe she would go back to Eric. And if he has as such a low pulse as he did that entire movie, he'll just be like, yeah, sure. And then the relationship would continue just as it is.
Yeah, that's true.
But I think she deserves better than that. And I can see it being an opportunity where she decides to just be by herself for a little while. She may, again, we don't have much to work with. So I think maybe she's working with, I need to figure myself out. So she works at the garden. That's something for her to explore. But ultimately, I think she needs to get a little bit more of life as herself rather than as part of this wacky family.
Yeah.
To really figure herself out.
Yeah, I think you're right. That's
Danny's
a really good point.
Going to scream some things like you mentioned before.
Yeah.
She's going to be like the inspiration for something. But it was Karen who said like, you're kind of a tradesman. And that really kind of like kicks his creativity. But he also has a very interesting skill. So it's not as cut and dry as you're a tradesman, but I think that can be some sort of inspiration for him creating.
Yeah, because because you can't tell because he ends up creating a mosaic for them, which
I don't even think he did.
Well, didn't he do? He did that with the swans.
I think that was just restoration work that he was working on, and it just like everything else in this movie was so contrived that it had some imagery relating to their relationship.
Okay.
Yeah, it just really...
Because I just saw him doing something and I was like, I couldn't understand because it looked like he did for such. I'm like, how did he just do that in like one night? That's insane.
Yeah. Well, also like, it looked like the swan was being shot in the heart.
That was the other thing.
Shot in the heart, and there's one that was in a cage. So she's the one in the cage. She's the one who's heartbroken. I think.
That's terrible. I'm just like, did he kill her?
I didn't.
I think it was him being melodramatic again. Like, oh, you've spurned my advances. I'm shot through the heart. I'm leaving on a train now. Goodbye.
Let me restore this mosaic to tell you how I feel.
Also, I guess you're right that those were swans, but they looked like geese to me.
I was guessing they were swans because like it would make. I mean, the whole thing didn't make any sense to me. So I was like, but. What? I was like, how does this... Do I have to rewatch this movie to figure out this imagery? And then I was like, oh no, they're swans. Yeah. The family's name is Swan.
I still don't get why he was allowed to do that. It's just like, a middle school thing. We're like, okay, this is what we're doing. But Danny, you get this square. And you guys get this square. And then all together, it's going to look amazing.
Yeah.
It doesn't. I don't get it.
No.
It wasn't. Yeah. I mean, isn't that the point? Is it's painstaking? I don't know, whatever.
Okay.
Nothing about this movie makes sense. The timelines don't make sense.
Did our mosaic sidetrack prevent you from saying something else about your ever after?
No, they ain't got a chance.
Okay.
I was done. But yeah, I think it speaks very well to Jesus and Nina's relationship that he was able to describe it to her and she was able to get the symbolism of it. or it was
she's blind. Just a reminder.
Or it was that on the nose. Wow. Okay.
Oh, nicely done.
I do have a question though.
Yeah.
I don't know how good your memory is, but is the station...
Yes, you do, actually.
No. Well, this is how far back it's going to go. The train station that she's running through to catch him, is that the same train station from Can't Hardly Wait? Those chairs look really familiar.
I don't remember.
I knew it.
But I mean, it makes sense they're on a train station because Anna Karenina, like a big scenes take place in a train.
I was like, oh, okay, this is like Anna Karenina sort of in the fact that it's at a train station. Yeah. I was like, okay, bravo movie. But then they hung a lantern on it, which I just hate. I'm like, okay, the moment that you point out how clever you are, you stop being clever. So.
Yes, exactly.
Wow.
Yeah.
I haven't read it, nor do I know the story very well.
It's not a good love story. It's a good story.
It's a great
but
story.
it's a terrible love story.
They said that in the movie.
Yes, but the mom also said it was the best love story. So
she's a liar.
She is. You should listen to Nina on that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good job, Nina.
I mean, I guess it's actually a really good love story if you're really cynical about love.
That's true.
I think it's fantastic. And this movie makes you cynical about love.
There it is. Okay, well that's all I got.
All right. So thank you. Oh my God, what a pleasure! I love this. Now we have to make up like Jude Law. We have to make up just reasons force you to be on the podcast over and over.
Well, thank you for humoring my Jude Law obsession.
Oh no, it's not humoring. You're doing us a favor.
You say this as if Jude-Ly was not created for Meg to come onto the show.
It's true.
Way ahead of you, Polina.
We tried. I thought we were going to keep it cool. I thought we were going to be cool. We didn't want to appeal too eager.
Too late.
Oh well.
All right. Okay. Well, I apologize to everyone.
Thank you for including yourself.
for bringing this into the realm of that. But it was an interesting discussion of cynicism and symbolism.
Mm-hmm. There we go.
If you want
Is that going to be the tagline for...
If you also want to be like Jude Law and talk about how this is your least favorite movie of Jude Law movies, let us know about that.
And if it's your favorite, we're sorry.
Well, no, I honestly, I want to know how it hit you and what you like about it. That matters. So you can reach us at on Twitter, and we're at HEAMCast.
HEAMCAST.
You can also find us on Facebook at Happily Ever Aftermath. And we're on Instagram.
Yes,
hooray!
Same.
That's also at HEAMCast.
HEAMCAST. I just like spelling that.
And
makes me feel useful.
Much like Meg is, you can find a whole bunch of excellent podcasts if you use the hashtag LadyPodSquad. Meg, tell them about your amazing podcasts.
Well, thanks again for having me on. Before I plug myself, it's been an awesome conversation.
Oh, I'm so glad.
Yay!
So once again, I'm Meg. I co-host the Indoorswomen podcast, which is a pop culture podcast. You can find that at Indoorswomen. Also, just started a brand new podcast called Pod Appétit, a Bon Appetit fancast that recaps Bon Appetit's YouTube content. You can find that on Twitter at pod_appetit, and you can find me at Meg Writes Words.
Cool. Yeah, excellent. I can't wait to check that out.
Well,
you were telling me about it earlier. Mm-hmm. And this is very exciting. We actually have a sponsor, and they are Frankie and Myrrh, which is actually a really great aromatherapy brand. Their tagline is aromatherapy made fun, which they've succeeded. So what you would do is go to Frankie and Myrrh. That's FRANKIE and Myrrh, which I just found out is spelled MYRRH. And if you use the promo code HAPPILY, you support the show and you get 20% off. Mm-hmm. So that's, why wouldn't you? They're really, really fun names. And their signature scent is actually called Spray the Bitch Away. It's like once refreshing and relaxing. It puts you in a really, really good space. But they use really, really good quality oils. And we actually, Diana and I were spraying it earlier, sort of experimenting with it. And, both of us were feeling a little tense. And it really did totally relax us. It just put us in a better headspace, a more cheerful headspace. The great thing is when you actually order it online, it was so delightful to see the packaging. I want to surprise you, but there's just all these really, really fun little creative bits in the packaging. And so I think they're absolutely fantastic. And they have many different scents, and they're not just your usual, like just lavender. There's some great blends. So you go to frankieandmyrrh.com and you use the promo code HAPPILY. You will get 20% off and you support the show. They are great. Thank you so much.
Thank you to them. All right. So next time, I am going to get out my handcuffs, make Meg stay.
Yay!
One more time.
Yay!
And I'm hoping we'll get it right this
time.
They're
really nice. I mean, we got the most comfortable ones.
I did.
And they have they're long, so you can still do stuff. You're not going to be...
Why are you full of lies? Clang!
Are they fur-lined? Oh, no.
Yeah. Well, not cheap. Yeah, really, they're nice. We tried.
Animal friendly.
We want you to be comfortable while we keep you in captivity.
There's worse things than being forced to watch Jude Law movies.
Yeah, really.
Well, let's see if we can get it right this time.
Uh-huh.
And let's watch The Holiday.
Yay! The Holiday!
Yes. So Jude Law is in this movie.
Really?
Yes.
That's weird.
But we
Jude
also-
Law was like the past 2 movies.
We have a buffer, though, with Cameron Diaz, Jack Black, and Kate Winslet.
Oh my God, how lovely. I've never seen this movie.
I've seen this movie. I'll have thoughts.
I will too.
Oh my God. I'm sure I will too. Eventually. I have no thoughts now except I love all those people and I'm delighted. I can't wait to watch them.
All right. So there it is. Meg, looking forward to having you back.
Looking forward to being back.
All right.
All right. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.